It is fair to say that the TV presenter and North Norfolk Digital radio DJ, Alan Partridge, and his former employer, the BBC, did not part on the best terms. He once wrote that he hoped for a world without famine and war in the BBC. So it has come as a surprise to many TV industry watchers that the character, played by Steve Coogan, has been given a second chance with the broadcaster, some 27 years after his BBC debut. Partridge's new show, this time with Alan Partridge, a current affairs series, began filming this month. It will be a heady mix of consumer affairs, highbrow interviews and lightweight froth, the BBC says. It's the latest step in Partridge's evolution from chat show host to heavyweight broadcaster. His most recent documentary, Scissor Dial, for Sky in 2016, looked at the divide between the haves and the have-nots, or havens. Coogan, who created Partridge along with director Armando Iannucci and writer Patrick Marder in Radio 4's On the Hour in 1991, has said the new series will cover Britain in the age of Brexit, something Partridge almost certainly voted for. "I think if he had a pint with Nigel Farage they'd get on like a house on fire," Coogan said this week. Partridge has weighed in on Brexit before. Last year, in a debate for the Big Issue magazine, he said, "You hear a lot of grumbling from Ramonas, whether teenagers, The Guardian or whoever, but when push comes to shove, the Leavers were in the majority." It is an unusual move by the BBC to rehabilitate a character with a past record of sexism, homophobia and manslaughter, and who remains something of a broadcasting liability. Scissor Dial was his journey of redemption after calling a teenager a chav on his North Norfolk Digital radio show. "A lot of water has passed under the bridge," says Shane Allen, the BBC's controller of comedy commissioning. It feels like Alan's time has come again as the BBC seeks a seasoned presenter of his caliber and outlook as the country embarks on a time of introspection about our identity and place in the world. He's also on less than a quarter of what he was paid back in the 90s. Partridge is a broadcasting legend, Alan says. The public love him and yet he's had the integrity to turn down every reality show going and stay true to his inner sense of misplaced superiority. "I believe he will one day feature on a Royal Mail stamp collection of the TV presenting greats. Second class small letter probably." Partridge has loomed large in popular culture in recent years, if not on the mainstream airwaves. The presenter's famed gaffes and false modesty gave rise to the concept of Partridgeisms, now used to describe similar moments in politicians and celebrities. Broadsheet opinion pieces have noted how relevant Partridge is becoming in an age of amateurs versus experts and a backlash against the liberal metropolitan elite. Partridge is resolutely regional and has said Eamon Holmes and Bill Oddie are his only show business friends. Partridge grew up in Norwich, in a house since demolished and replaced with Carphone Warehouse's regional headquarters. An only child, the broadcaster wrote about his childhood loneliness in his 2011 autobiography Partridge, We Need to Talk About Alan. He went to East Anglia Polytechnic and found work as a hospital radio DJ in Norwich. From there, he became the in-store DJ for a branch of the music shop R Price, before becoming a sports reporter on Saxon Radio in Bury St Edmunds. "I ascended the career ladder like a shaven Jesus ascending to his rightful place in the kingdom of heaven," Partridge wrote. "I was poached by Radio Broadland, Great Yarmouth, Harewood Radio, Peterborough, Radio Orwell, Ipswich, and eventually Radio Norwich." According to his memoir, it was during the British Archery Championships, held in Norwich, that Partridge reached a national audience after one of the competitors shot a steward and Partridge broadcasted the developing news story. It brought him to the attention of radio commissioners and he was encouraged to apply for a job as sports reporter on BBC Radio 4's new current affairs show, On the Hour. When that moved to television in 1994 and was renamed The Day Today, Partridge went with it. It proved a momentous year for the presenter. He was given a BBC Two chat show, Knowing Me Knowing You, which, like The Day Today, had originated on Radio 4. Although initially successful, It wasn't commissioned for a second series, partly because of falling audience figures, which Partridge explained by the evenings getting lighter and more people out rambling or sitting in beer gardens, as well as his accidental fatal shooting of one of his guests. It seemed unlikely Partridge would again reach the heights of his early success. He returned to Radio Norwich to present the early morning show and cut his ties with the BBC. The BBC is nothing if not risk-averse, and I was seen as a bit of a maverick, he wrote. For several years, he made corporate videos and presented the military quiz show Skirmish for a satellite channel. The BBC broadcast time Alan Partridge in 2002-1, following his life in a travel tavern after his marriage broke down. By 2010, he was presenting a parody radio show, Mid-Morning Matters, on North Norfolk Digital, which he also filmed and broadcast on YouTube.